Earlier this year, we spoke to family members of Aharon Rosales, who was one of more than 20 men detained by federal immigration authorities in southern Indiana this spring. Now Rosales is out on bond. As our Bente Bouthier reports, his arrest and release coincide with community pushback against the national rise in immigration arrests over the last several months.
Last Thursday, more than 200 Monroe County residents gathered to protest actions of the Trump administration, including a doubling of immigration arrests this spring. Organizers last week said the approach is inhumane and targets people in the country who don't have criminal records.
No borders, no nations, stop the deportation.
According to data gathered by NBC News, about 57,000 people are being held in ICE detention, and more than 70% don't have a criminal record. The most common offenses for people in these circumstances are immigration and traffic-related. And that's the case for Aron Rosales, who's back with his family in Bloomington after being detained by ICE in April and taken to a detention facility in Kentucky. His mom and sister spoke with WTIU then and said Rosales wasn't the type of person they thought ICE was looking for.
He's very warm-hearted and very hardworking too, yes. Especially because of his children. Of course, they're in a country where the economy it's not going really well for citizens, and the reason we moved to the United States is because we were struggling financially over there. So, of course, all the hard work that he puts in it so he can send money over for his children and their food and school.
Aron doesn't have a criminal record. His mom was driving him and a co-worker, Manuel Sente-Tivelen, to work as painters when ICE pulled them over. Aron's sister, Eli, translates what happened. ICE agents were looking for Aron's co-worker, Sente-Tivelen, who had pending charges in Monroe County. But they asked Aron for his ID too and saw he was undocumented.
So then the officer said, okay, then you're coming with us too.
When he got to the Hopkins County Jail, officers told him he would have to stay.
It was mentally really hard for him, especially the first couple weeks. And it takes a lot of strength to be in there. It felt like a mental torture.
Aron describes extremely uncomfortable conditions. Lights on at all hours, limited food, a thin pad for a mattress, only warm tap water for drinking.
There was a lot of people in there crying every day because they wanted to get out. And even if they wanted to get processed for deportation, they still had to wait sometime to get deported.
His co-worker, Sente-Tivelen, was eventually processed and voluntarily deported to Mexico. Aron says the only redeeming thing about his time in jail were the calls with his family. Aron says many men didn't have the resources to make calls. He's grateful his mom and sister found a lawyer, Christy Pop, to gather documentation for his case and prove he wasn't a flight risk.
She wanted to collect a lot of letters from the company he works for, from relatives, friends.
Indiana has more than 50,000 immigration court cases pending, according to data kept by trackreports.org. More than 2,400 cases have been filed so far this year.
You have to work really hard to show ties to a community, that there's somebody there who's willing to ensure that they go to court, that they have applied for status if that's what they're going to do.
Of pending cases in Indiana, only 83 are criminal or national security related. More than 25,000 are entry without inspection, and 27,000 are other immigration charges. About 460 of these cases are for someone in Monroe County. Pop adds any criminal record can hurt your chances with an immigration judge. Aron says his case was one of the only ones granted bail, which the judge set at $10,000.
It was unbelievable for him because there is no way out for a lot of people.
Aron isn't sure how long he'll be able to stay in the U.S. and is applying for a work visa now.
Maybe this can be a lesson for us as well, to follow the rules and do everything by the book without being irresponsible, because it can affect the people that are not doing these offenses.
Most people he met at Hopkins County Jail had minor offenses like traffic infractions, following the national trend. He says it's his faith in God that's brought him this far.
They were all workers, like they were all here in US to work. And because maybe one person decided, like, committed something terrible out of their country, then it affects everybody else.
Aron was one of at least 4 men detained in Bloomington at the end of April in what an ICE press release called a multi-agency operation. A grassroots group, Blue Mare, tracked federal agents' presence in Bloomington. Last month, it hosted a vigil for people who had been detained or deported and presented information on people's rights.
Things that you need to give a police officer if they were to stop you on the street would be, or stop you in a car, would be your name and your date of birth and your address.
We will walk with you, and sing your spirit.
For Indiana News Desk, I'm Ben Taboutier.
TrackReports.org says the highest number of ICE detainees in Indiana are being incarcerated in Clay County.